Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Tales of Sigmar podcast. As always, I'm your host Chalmers, and alongside me is my co-host Martin. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening, Chalmers, and how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. We're on episode 50. We
Wow.
should be doing something big for it, but we're not. And there should be some fanfare, but I'm not very good at technical stuff, so we'll just go, yay, and that'll be about
I
it.
expect you to add it on later.
If I could be bothered, as we're talking off there about the lack of time, yeah, if I could have the time and be bothered to find some celebratory music, I probably would put it on there. But if not, we'll just go yay, and then
We'll save it for 100.
hopefully you've all enjoyed 50 episodes. I don't know why we're still doing this after 50 episodes, but it kind of wastes our time, doesn't it?
People enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we'll keep going.
We'll keep doing it. So here's to the next 50.
Indeed.
And in this episode, we had our very first tournament for AoS 3, a week after the game released. So that's exciting. That has been a big thing. Obviously, Dominion dropped on, I'm trying to think of the date now, July the 3rd. Saturday, July the 3rd.
Yep.
Dominion dropped. We had a little preview show as well, where we saw lots of new Stormcast and Orc models that all look very nice. And there's still more to be revealed, apparently. They've said that the battle tomes are coming out in August, and then a new Chaos battle tome is coming in October. So
exciting times.
yes, whether that'll be Beasts of Chaos or
Gotta be beasts. They've got to get some love at some point,
I
surely.
don't know if it'll be Nurgle. Nurgle's got one of those old battle tomes, same as Idoneth. Needs updating.
True. I just feel like beasts.
Oh, Beast.
Land
Yeah,
of-
Beast just needs a whole entire really
It's Land of Gur. It's Chaos. Beasts.
it makes
It
sense.
kind of feels like it should be, but it'll probably be Corn.
Turn them up to 11. Yeah. Yeah, here's the 5th book for the Corn. Great.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's exciting that we know that there's some battle tomes coming. A little bit not shamed, but a little bit disappointed it's going to be August by the time Stormcast and Crawl Boys get their books. It kind of feels like, oh, here's the box set, and then it's like, yeah, you can wait another 5-6 weeks until anything else for it. I suppose it gets people to paint up their starter sets.
It does. I don't know, I suppose it gives people time to get excited by it, but it is a little bit disappointing that we weren't seeing lots of those armies. Like, it essentially means Crawl Boys can't be at tournaments.
Unless you use some very subpar war scrolls from the Dominion box.
Realistically. And I mean, Stormcast you can fit in with the existing Stormcast, so it's not quite so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it would have been nice to see those come out a bit earlier so we could start to see those in tournaments.
Definitely.
Like Lost and the Damned at the end of this month.
Yes, so. that was my hope, that I was going to take a new Stormcast army to that with all of those chariots.
Yep.
Yeah, it's obviously not happening now, so it is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. They have announced this week, though, that there's going to be 3 new starter sets, a bit like the 40k box set, so kind of a varied in price and contents as well for AoS. So you've got the Warrior starter set, and that includes 5 of the Vindictors and the Knight Arcanum, and then against them is 10 of the Gut Rippers and the Killer Boss and the Stabgrot, I think he's called. I can't remember what they're called now. Yeah, the Killer Boss and Stabgrot. So that's a nice little intro thing with some kind of paper playmat and a bit of cardboard scenery. Then they've got a second one, which is the Harbinger, and this has the Shaman with the Potgrot, a unit of 10 of the Hobgrots, 10 of the Gut Rippers again, and then you've got 5 of the Vindictors, 3 of the Praetors, and then the Lord, I'm trying to remember what his name is now, Lord Imperator, that's the one, with the Gryph-hound. And again, you get a kind of bigger cardboard bit of scenery for that, so that's the kind of middle version. And then you've got the actual Extremist starter set, which is kind of the... It's not the big boy starter set because it's not Dominion, but it's still a decent sized thing. You get, again, you get the Gut Rippers, you get the Hobgrots, you get the Shaman. I'm trying to think what else you get in there. You get no new models. The only things that you get is all the new scenery, plastic scenery.
Yeah,
So,
which I found was a bit odd, the difference between the two. I kind of see that box as people either returning to the hobby or people that have played similar games and want to get into it, but don't want to go for Dominion. It'll be interesting to see what the prices are of them, because Dominion ended up being sold at some places quite cheap in the end.
yes.
And so I don't know how financially worth it's going to be for some of those middle boxes. I think the small box will be great for, people who've never played anything, for kids getting into it. But I do wonder about that top one.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, Dominion is still for sale
Yep.
on the GW site, which is a surprise. I don't know whether that's lack of sales or whether they have just made a stupid amount.
I think they said though that it wasn't going to be limited edition. They said that they were going to.
No, Dominion was always limited
Oh,
run.
I thought it wasn't limited. I thought that was the whole point.
No, they said it was a limited while stocks last, but they've made a lot,
Plenty.
so
Fair
everyone
enough.
should be able to get it. And yeah, I mean they've still got it now. What, a week after release and 3 weeks since pre-order. So either they've made too many, it's not been as popular, or they've just made too many.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens once the books come out, because I think maybe
Yes.
quite a few people will be, if the books come out and all of a sudden either of those armies are amazing, people will quickly pick them up because they're such good value boxes.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking at the 40k because 40k have something very similar with the 3 different levels.
Yeah.
And their small box set is £32.50, which is actually pretty decent for a little starter set to get into it. The Elite Edition is £65, and then their Command Edition, which is the one with the plastic scenery, is £105. And I'm just looking between the two. Again, it's the same contents in both the boxes, but you get the plastic scenery. So you're kind of paying, what, £40 for a load of plastic scenery? And a proper cardboard playmat rather than a paper one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that this scenery is coming out separately as well.
I don't doubt it will be. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've seen some statements around the scenery that it'll be a separate set.
I've just had a look at the 40k. The scenery that you get in that Command Edition you can buy separately.
Yeah.
As a kind of box set. So, yeah, the scenery is really nice. I think a lot of people have said they can't wait their hands to get on it. Like that big statue looks really, really nice. But yeah, no, I mean, it is nice that they do have the starter sets. My only worry is that they still have Dominion sets when all of these launch, and then you've kind of got 4 versions.
Yeah, it will be a bit weird. But like I said, I think a lot will depend on what happens with the books.
Yes.
The books come out, and people, those armies are good. You'll soon see them disappear.
Definitely.
Especially if both armies are good and people will be snapping them up to
trying to get as many as they can.
Yeah.
They also announced some new paint sets, which are just the kind of intro paint sets. You get ones that have a couple of Vindictors in with like 6 paints, and then 3 of the Gut Rippers and 6 different paints.
Yeah,
so.
I saw those. Again, a little bit odd that they're putting the models in with the paints.
Yeah, I kind of understand it. It's that entry level, here's a load of colours to make them. Like, it's very much Orc Flesh, Steel Legion Drab, Mephiston Red, Lead Belcher, and then Agrax Wash. So yeah, that could be a nice little challenge actually if they were cheap enough. All of us get that box set and see what you can
Yes.
how you can use those colours.
Yeah, and see what you can come out with.
Yeah. But no, for an intro, like I said, learning how to paint, etc., they're perfect. So no, good to see that it's all coming. They haven't said when it is coming out though. They've just said it's coming soon. Probably the same time as the rest of the books and everything. That would kind of make sense in August.
Yeah.
I think we're going into a little bit of a 40k couple of weeks. I know the new Orcs is up for pre-order this week, or the new Orc box set, I should say. And then I think there's some other bits and I don't really know. I expect the new Kill Team box set will be coming out as well. So
yeah, some of that looks fantastic as well.
Yeah.
So I expect that's going to do quite well. But no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens come August. What do we get? They're obviously fleshing out both the armies. The Stormcast. I mean, that Stormcast book is going to be
it's going to be a
huge.
hefty time. Yeah.
So I do wonder whether or not they'll split it up somehow. I don't know how they will. I mean, Space Marines, they split up by having different chapters, but
they're a little bit more. I think they could do that because, like, the Space Marines for 40k have so many extra models for each of those chapters, whereas in AoS it's really only the Hammers of Sigmar that have a load of.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, it like I say, it's a bit of an odd one as to how much further they go, but they seem to be making bigger books because the Cruel Boys seem to be going into the Warclans book.
Brand new Orc Warclan book, which I'm looking forward to that, having an Iron Jaws and a Bone Splitter army. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what changes have been added in. Though it has felt that that Orc Warclan book is quite new still, but I think it was 2019.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but I do feel that it still feels one of the newer
I think probably the last year, because we spent the last year and a half stuck in our house.
Yes.
It kind of, everything still feels new when it's actually quite old. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I hope there is some more updated rules, etc. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see in August when it all comes out and transpires.
Absolutely. I've been considering I keep calling them Savage Orcs, a Savage Orc army, Bone Splitters, and I was talking to Ian Spink over the weekend about them, but I think I'm going to hold off until that book comes out and see what happens with it.
Yeah, definitely. But let's talk about the tournament we went to on Saturday. So it was down at Battle Bunker in Sunderland, so about 20-minute drive for us, not that far.
Yep.
So local gaming store, I suppose we can call it local.
Absolutely.
But yes, it was the kind of the Saturday after AoS 3. We had to get our lists in on the Monday after Dominion dropped, so that was a nice rush. But a massive props to Tony, who updated War Scroll Builder on that Monday, so it made list building a hell of a lot easier than trying to write it down.
That was a lifesaver for me, because I must admit I was still trying to get my head around it all, and a few people on the WhatsApp group were a lot further down the line than I was. And then when that came out, I saw you post that, and I was like, aha!
Get straight on it, yeah.
Going on to that made such a difference. And the other one that was a massive help for me as well was AoS Reminders.
Yes.
Because I realised putting stuff into that
helps you out.
I can't remember which way around it was, but I think the War Scroll Builder allowed me to do things that I couldn't do, or it didn't remind me to check something else. So the combination of the two allowed me to make sure that I was covering all bases, which was good.
Yeah, definitely. So what army did you take to the event?
So I was going to take my Deepkin. That was the army I know, and I thought it would be easy to do. But then for some stupid reason, I decided Tzeentch. I haven't played Tzeentch in a while. I still love the Tzeentch models. I still love Tzeentch. Why not try them? And as you will soon hear, that was a silly idea.
So what was actually in your list of
Yeah, so I previously run Mixed Tzeentch, so I continued with that. So it was Host Arcanum, Mortal Realm was Gur as always. My grand strategy was Prize Sorcery, considering I had lots of wizards. I thought that'd be a good idea. And my Triumph was Inspired, and I never got my Triumph off at all.
Oh.
And then I was running my Lord of Change. So I had the battalions were Warlord and Hunters of the Heartlands.
Yep.
So the majority was in Warlord, and I'll say at the end what was in Hunters. But Lord of Change, with the Spell Hunter's command trait, Artifact, Aura of Mutability, and a couple of spells in there. Then I had a Zangor Shaman, Blue Scribes, and a Herald of Tzeentch on disc with the Fanged Circlet. 2 units of 10 pinks and 3 screamers, and then 6 Zangor Enlightened on disc, and then a couple of endless spells. So I had the Spell Portal, the Life Swarm, and the Pendulum. In the Hunters, I had the 2 units of pinks and the Enlightened, along with the... Oh, not the Shaman, because he doesn't go in there. Yeah, it was just those 3 units. And that all came to 1995.
Very nice. Now,
And your good self.
I took my Idoneth. I was going to take my Gargants again, but I don't know, like the FAQ came out for Idoneth, and they got a little bit of a nerf, not massively, but kind of Volturnus. It was literally you can only do it once per turn.
Yep.
For his ability, so
you can only do it once in turn 3.
Yeah, you can only do it once. Turn 3, hero phase, buff up 3 units with 1 attack, and that's it. So a kind of big nerf to kind of a lot of how Idoneth play. I took Domheim, which is I think kind of the go-to one really. Reroll 1s to charge hits when you charge, and then reroll all failed wounds against monsters. So
I think in this edition it's definitely going to come to the fore because of the monster side.
Definitely. Grand strategy was hold the line. So as you'll see, I've got a lot of battle line units, so it kind of made sense to use that one. And then I used a Triumph Inspired, which I actually managed to use twice in 2 games. So that was quite nice. I had Volturnus, a Soul Scryer, who had the Cloud of Midnight and the Curse Prayer, which I didn't get off once all day. The Tidecaster, which had the Abyssal Darkness spell, and then the Soul Render, who had the Arcane Tome artifact and the Pressure of the Deep spell. So I know a lot of people will be going, why have you got all of that in there? Like Soul Render and Tidecaster especially. It's mainly the stuff I had painted, and I quite like the paint jobs I had on them, so they kind of went in. It was a bit of a mishmash army, it wasn't anything optimised. I had 2 units of 10 Thralls, I had a unit of 6 Morsar, 2 units of 3 Morsar, and then a Leviathan Turtle. And then I had a Battle Regiment, which was everything apart from the 6 Morsar, Volturnus, the Soul Scryer, and the Tidecaster, and they were in the Warlord Battalion. So that gave me an extra artifact and a free command point, which I completely forgot to use all day as well. So it wasn't a too bad army. It was 1995 points again. It's kind of it's what I had painted anyway. My original list had, I'm trying to think what it was, had 1 unit of Ishlan Guard as well.
Right.
But because of all the points changes, like they had to go, which is a shame. But yeah, that was kind of it. It was kind of just like, I've got it all painted. I was quite proud with the paint job. Let's just take it along and push it around on a 1-dayer. The plan was to take it to Scotland at the end of the month, to Lost and the Damned, but with the changes and that, I don't think I want to be playing that now for 5 games over a weekend.
Yeah, it's a fantastic looking army.
Thank you.
And it looks great all put together. But as you say, it's not really not customized, as slick as you'd want it to be, is it?
No, you'd kind of get rid of the thralls, you'd chuck in some more eels and get rid of the two non-needed
I think
heroes.
the thralls may well.
No,
You
right.
want to convert them to reavers, don't you?
Yeah, the thing I'll say now is like thralls with a 1-inch reach on a 32mm base when you've got to be in coherency just don't work at the minute. Like they just, they did nothing all day to be honest. So they screened out a little bit and that was about it. It coherency I kind of found all weekend was a bit of a pain. Like trying to fit 6 eels into coherency and try and get stuff into
Definitely
combat.
my least liked.
Yeah.
Because it's so weird because units of 6 suffer from it, whereas my last game I was playing against a load of units of 5.
Yes. Yeah.
And why are these in 6 and those? Yeah, I know they've got to draw the line somewhere, but it just felt like a lot of it was.
Yeah. A lot of finicky kind of. Yeah, to stop your screen. It was the thing we were saying though. It was like they said, it was to do the stop all the daisy chains, but if you have a unit on 25mm bases, you could still daisy chain.
Yeah.
And they were sort of the things that mainly did all the screening normally anyway. So yeah, it was a kind of, like I said, it seemed to be a pet peeve from a lot of people in the games I played where, well, actually it was only you and the second player I played. Last player I played didn't have to worry about coherency, but
Yes.
yeah, it was still a big issue for all of us for trying to just pile-ins and stuff like that. It was just it seemed to add an extra bit of time on to the game of just moving, like trying to kind of make sure everything's in range, etc. So we should probably go into game 1, and this was marking territory, and this is a mission I don't like because you can auto win from turn 3 if you hold all of the objectives, and it just makes it a bit of a boring game. Not boring game, but
I don't like it with the combination of the fact you can discard an objective now.
Yeah.
That to me was, it's it kind of, that turn 3 priority can win or lose you the game.
Yeah.
And that's no matter how you play it, like unless you're completely dominating, it's gonna, and it just felt a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I was drawn against what was he called?
Right pain in the backside.
Martinswaffield, that was it. Yeah. Yeah, we ended up drawing each other to game 1. To be fair, I didn't mind that because like we're both learning AoS 3. It was kind of first game of the event, so to play a mate, I kind of like, actually, you know what? That's probably one of the better scenarios than playing someone who like might not have read any of the rules, etc. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, wasn't it?
It was. It was one of those ones where, like you say, it was good to be able to play somebody and learn the rules together. But at the same time, there were plenty of people at the event that I'd never played before, and it would have been good to play some of those.
Play some people, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we kind of played that, and you kind of bunkered up onto one objective of all your horrors and what was it, your Lord of Change? And
yeah, my army doesn't spread out particularly well. At least I didn't think it would. And I still feel now that doesn't necessarily spread out particularly well. So playing that one where you've got to do that was problematic, shall we say?
Yeah. So I kept who was it? Volturnus, 6 eels. Yeah, 6 eels, Volturnus, and the Soul Scryer off the board. Now, I played a practice game on Thursday night down Battle Bunker with the army, and I took a unit of thralls off the table with me and kept Voltinus on because obviously now you get an extra command point if your general is on the table. So having Volturnus off the table meant if I was going first, for example, I was only getting one command point, which I kind of found was massive. Like the command point thing is a huge thing in the game now, and I don't know
I
about
felt
you,
like
but
I wanted to spend all it was really odd because at certain points I felt like I didn't have enough, but at the same time I think most turns I finished with some, because you kind of like, I need to keep that for this, I need to keep
yeah,
that for that, and then that didn't happen, and
something changed.
hang on.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so it's definitely going to take some learning to try and work out which is when the right time to play them is.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's one of those, like you said, it's working out exactly the right kind of command abilities and uses of them is going to be huge, and I think you're going to see a lot more, not random, but untaken artifacts from AoS 2 that potentially give you extra command points, or units that kind of give you command points if you take them in a combination of X or Y or anything like that. I think you're going to see some little quirky takes just because they give you some extra points. But no, I love that change. It made it really tactical, like you said, working out exactly when to use them. So that was a huge win. But yeah, we kind of like, I don't know, we played it a little bit, not cautiously. I don't. It was a bit of a weird one. We kind of knew like it was going to come down to turn 3 because, especially in this edition, turn 3 you get the burning objective if you go second. If you're running Idoneth and your opponent wins the priority, it's either you give them turn 3 and you get the burning objective, but then you've got 2 turns of Idoneth doing Idoneth fight first.
Yep.
Or you go, you take the first turn, but then they get to burn an objective, and then they can. So it's very kind of very tactical on. Is it tactical? It's a dilemma, I suppose, is the best word.
Yes, it makes you make decisions, and I think that's one of the things I found very much over the weekend was there are a lot more decision points, and I think I didn't really know what I was doing with the army, and I was learning third. I was trying to relearn Tzeentch. I hadn't played Tzeentch since the new book came out, which was a long time ago. So yeah, I was trying to remember a lot of stuff. Yeah. But I think it definitely felt like there are a lot more decision points. There's a lot more things you've got to think through in this edition. And I'm not like you. I'm not a fan of that scenario at all. I don't like the auto win. I think it creates a stalemate and it creates a decision paralysis almost. Honestly, decision paralysis. But you don't want to commit to something because you make one mistake, you lose the game. You can't come back from it. And I think I was in the situation where I bunkered down on one. I had my bottom left as such was where the vast majority was. I was contesting the one on my right, still in my territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't necessarily going to kill your eels, but if at the right point I could have too many on there, I could win it. The one in front of me on left in your territory, I committed to, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a bit swiggy. I think if I'd burnt the objective, then I think, yeah, you would have gone first. And where you had Volturnus and the eels, maybe you chew through a few more pinks, a few more horrors. And so maybe you get that one. I probably think still have kept it, but my shooting would have definitely taken
Yeah.
a hit as such. So yeah, it was a close game, but I don't think you were ever really in danger.
No, I think it, like I say, it kind of came down to who got to choose to burn the objective, and
Yeah,
the fact that I got to, I got to choose because I won priority and I went second, so I could burn an objective, didn't I?
yeah,
Rather than take the first turn. And I was like, right, well, I'll just burn yours. That's got all of your hero, like horrors and your chicken on and everything. And then I kind of had two, but you only had like that unit of screamers holding your kind of last objective, so it was just a case of the eels getting rid of them.
yeah. I had them, and I had those 10 blues that were now counting as twice.
Yes,
But you had the turtle bearing down on them.
yes, and the thralls were kind of chopping. That was probably the only thing the thralls did actually all day was get rid of those blues, and then
Yeah,
the brims came out. But again, it was like, next turn all they're going to do is chop through them again. The turtle was going to flatten them, and then it was kind of game over. So it was a bit of a mishmatch. I think you had that turn, the pre-game move with your what was it? The enlightened on discs. And you rolled a. No,
yeah.
they automatically
They all
rolled
moved 6 inches,
Yeah.
but I've rolled 3, so I could move 3 units, which allowed me to move them along with the
The shaman and
the shaman as well. Yeah,
yeah. So you kind of went for that turn one, just try and push one of my objectives off with all of them, but you kind of found out what a Leviathan does in combat, and I think they were all dead by the end of my turn one, wasn't it?
yeah, because I didn't get into the eels.
Yeah.
I should have just committed one way or the other, but my thought was those 10 Reavers, whilst they don't do much damage, they count as 10 models.
Yes.
And so I just needed to clear that out. And if you meant that you had to leave your eels on a back objective, then that's 3 less eels that are chomping through my stuff. So I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah.
I was hoping I would tie up the Leviathan a little bit longer, I must admit.
Yeah, he kind of just went a bit crazy and deleted them. And then right at the end, when you thought you might have been able to win it, I then rallied my Morsar and got an extra one back, and then
Yes, there was like a combination of things that had to go my way, but had you not got that one, it might have worked out. But then the following shooting phase just fluffed, so it didn't make that much difference, did it?
No. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one for the game one. Like we were doing all the battle tactics, and yet it didn't really count. Like you didn't get any points for it. So the only way it was coming to was if we both drew, and then it was most number of battle tactics got the minor victory.
Yeah, it affected the miners, but again,
yeah. Again, it's not really a mission I would be pushing to be playing at an event. To be honest, it's a bit of a meh one. But no, I mean battle tactics. Talking about them very quickly, I love them. Like, I mean, they are very much like the secondaries, auxiliary objectives that we were kind of getting.
Yes, it's the next progression up, isn't it?
Yeah, but the fact that you're choosing a new one every single turn, it kind of makes it a lot more tactical of like working out exactly which ones you can choose and which order, and then going right, okay, yeah, now I can do that, and then I need to do this. There was one where in my last game the opponent had ran out by turn 3 of what he could actually do because he'd used some of them, and then it was like, oh, I can't use any at the minute.
Yeah, I found that there were a couple of times where I kind of looked through and I was like, there's no real good options here. But again, I think that's just getting used to it, just remembering what they all are. Because you're reading through them, and again, like last time at Battle Bunker, there were chess clocks, and it's the first time I'd used chess clocks.
Yeah,
I felt it gave an unnecessary pressure on you, and so I had a new army. Everything was new for me, so I didn't want to spend too much time pondering things. So yeah, there were a couple of times that I went for something that probably wasn't the optimum solution.
Yeah. No, I was a bit like you for the chess clocks. I can take them or leave them. I wasn't that fussed. And to be fair, I think most of my opponents, when it came to when we were like, we'll just let them run and then we'll just play it as normal. It's not really a big deal. And the thing is now, like, there's so many reactive things that you can do. Like, it's almost like you're wasting your opponent's time, and like because you're doing those reactive things.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I didn't mind it. When in hindsight, looking back on it, I didn't really mind them that much. They seemed logical. I had a odd experience into game 2, which I'll cover soon, but it just, for me, with everything being new, I felt under pressure to try and sort it all out.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, and that's no bad thing. At the end of the day, everything's new. I could have pondered and then could have been finishing games in turn 2, and my opponent might not have got to do anything. So, yeah, it is what it is. We knew they were going to be there going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for things like the battle tactics, because I was reading them each time to try and remember what they all were, you weren't really having that time to compute it and think, well, if I pick this one now, what about, I kind of just went through it until I got to a good one. I was like, I'll use that one.
Yeah.
Rather than going through all 8 to then pick which is the best one at that point.
Yeah, rather than thinking, actually, is this better to use down the line? It was just like, I'll just use that one this time, it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's see how it went. So yeah, I ended up winning. But it was still a good game. It was like we said, it was a nice intro to the day and nice kind of, not intro to AoS 3 because we've already played a couple of games, but it's still a
Yeah. I think I needed a couple of things to go my way to win that one. They didn't, but I still think, you played it right. I don't think my army particularly, that's my fault for not picking an army list that would be able to. I hadn't looked at any of the battle plans when I picked my army, which was, on me. But yeah, I think you made the right calls throughout that game. So.
Mm-hmm. So we had lunch, and I was going to say we got painting nominations, but we should probably point out there was only 14 of us that signed up for the event, which, to be fair, I mean, even Justin, who was running it, said, like, the fact that it's less than a week that the game's been out, it was kind of a good turnout for people just literally turning up to play the new game.
Yeah, and I think it was.
Yeah.
As you say, none of us knew what we were doing, so it was good to all get together and try and work out as we went.
But we all got painting nominations. I think everyone
set
up their armies.
Yeah, everybody was asked to set up their armies. One person didn't, but that wasn't because he didn't get a nomination. He just chose not to.
Yeah. And yeah, no, some of the standard out there was amazing. There was some great looking armies out there. I was quite fortunate to get 3 first place votes as well, which was quite nice.
Well done.
But there was a couple of other winners. There was Hannah, who ended up with like 5, I think it was, and then Luke Tor as well. So Hannah had Soulblight, great looking army. It's like really colourful, but kind of moody as well. It's got a really nice kind of contrast across the whole army. So she won that, and Luke Tor, who's got some stunning looking Daughters of Cain, he ended up getting, I think it was 4 first place votes, or no,
he won it last time, didn't he? Round 1, did he not win the best painted?
No, Anthony won first.
Yes, he did.
Best painted. No, I think he got the same amount of first place votes, but I think Hannah got more second place votes. I think it was because she had to vote for first, second, and third.
Yeah.
But no, it was well deserved. Like, those armies looked really, really nice.
Yes.
And then game 2 after lunch, we played Savage Games. I like this mission. It's one that's carried over since I think the very first GHB, and it's one of my kind of favourite ones. It's a nice back and forth one. Your objective's worth 1. The 2 in the no man's land are worth 2 points each, and then your opponent's objective is worth 4. And then if you complete your battle tactic, you also score an additional 2 victory points. So it was nice scoring. It was a good little back and forth game.
Yeah.
And who did you play on your second game?
It was Darren.
Darren Watson.
Apologies, it wasn't Darren Watson. Or was it Darren Watson?
I think it was Darren Watson.
Perhaps it was Darren Watson, not the Darren Watson, but another Darren Watson.
Who was also playing. So yeah, it was Darren Watson.
Seraphon.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew the guy playing the Gargants was another Darren, and I couldn't remember which way around they were.
Ah, yes, yeah.
But yeah, no, I played Darren Watson with his Seraphon, and I hadn't played Seraphon. Well, no, that's not true. I played Seraphon once, played against them once with the new book. Tom used them, and he on TTS we had a game, and he just obliterated my army completely. So I was quite apprehensive. I was expecting lots of summoning. I was expecting lots of like death, basically. They were quite. I came away from it thinking, was he a couple of 100 points under or something? Because they just seemed to lack any real bite. So he had 2 blocks of Tensaurus. He had Scarvet and a Carnosaur, Croak, Astrolith Banner, Skink Priest, and the Skink Star Priest, I think it was. 10 Chameleon Skinks, block of 30 Skinks, and 6 Crocscore.
Yep.
I think that's all he had. And he set up, basically he had his Saurus Warriors and Scarvet on my left, Croak with the 30 Skinks plus Astrolith Bearer kind of in the middle, and then slightly to the right of that, where I was looking at it at least, he had another 10 Saurus Warriors with the Crocscore behind, characters intermingled, and then he brought on his Chameleon Skinks on my far right flank. As I say, it kind of felt like, to all spoiler, but all day I was a bit reckless with my Zangor Enlightened. Probably a little too reckless. But he took the first turn, which I think probably was his first mistake. Because he then didn't commit. He just tentatively came forward. Which meant on my left, I had the Zangor Enlightened and the Screamers, and I summoned the unit of 6 from the Circlet. And so they basically went in and wiped out the Saurus Warriors and the Scarvet over there, over maybe 2 turns.
Yeah.
And then Croak did a fair bit of mortal wounds, but perhaps he picked the wrong units to do the mortal wounds on. His block of 30 Skinks came forward and did million mortal wounds to my horrors, who just then multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And then on my right, the Crocscore, etc., went in there. Didn't really do as much as I thought they would. So yeah, I kind of came away from that game. I won the game. I burnt the objective on the far right because that's where I had the least of my models. I'd cleared my left flank completely, and I was coming around. He basically had Croak and the Astrolith Bearer.
Yeah.
On his back objective, and I just went and sat there with Screamers, and then sat there with a couple of Zangor Enlightened. The Skinks they lost the shooting battle between my million horrors and his million Skinks. I just whittled them down. And then on my right, his chameleon skinks kind of just never. They did a fair whack of damage into my unit of 10 pinks that were over there, but then they were just out of the game for too much of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, it was a really good game. But like I say, I kind of did come away from it feeling that his army felt very under strength. I was waiting for the bite of it, and it just didn't really happen.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, that list. I mean, 6 Croxagores, like 300 points, so it's a fair whack of points in 6 models that, especially with coherency, as we were talking about units of 6, you're not getting a lot of damage. I mean, I love Croxagore, and like one of my Seraphon lists has got, I think, 3 units of Croxagore in, but like 3 units of 3 now.
Yep.
But yeah, they're still, they're not the greatest unit, but something different than just another 30 skinks or.
Yeah, I mean, and I was glad because he was running the non-summoning version of them.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that Saurus Warriors weren't better than they were. I was quite worried by those big blocks of 10, or those blocks of 10 as such, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say, it was an odd game. I kind of felt like I was starting to think, oh, here's the power of Tzeentch. Perhaps it isn't as bad as I thought. But then the last game happened. And we'll cover that in a minute. So, how was your game too?
So my game too, I was playing Chris Carroll, who had Soulblight Gravelords, which was cool because I've just bought some Soulblight, and it was kind of a nice thing to kind of see him on the table because I've been writing lots of different lists for him, but I was like, oh, actually, it's quite nice to see him on the table and see what they do. And he was in Legion of Night, so this is whereabouts you can deploy units off the table, and they can come on from the table wedge if you want, with the Legion of Night. And then his Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon was his like general, and that was the he's got the command trait whereabouts you can actually deploy anywhere on the table, I think it is.
It's a lovely looking model.
Yes, so he's converted Archeon and put a load of flesh eater heads on there and put like kind of a Manfred model on the top of it. So
confused a lot of us to start with because it's like, oh, he's playing Chaos. Hang on, what? He's playing Chaos with what?
Yeah.
What is he playing?
So yeah, really nice model. So that was his general. He had a Necromancer, a Vampire Lord, and then Radikar the Beast. And then he had 2 units of 40 zombies, 10 skeletons, 20 Graveguard, and then he had 1 each of the corpse carts. So he had one with a Balefire Brazier that makes you -1 to wound in a like aura, which for 80 points at -1 to wound is pretty good.
Sounds quite a bargain in AoS 3.
Yeah, and then Unholy Lodestone is the one where you get +1 to cast for your wizards, and I think you add 1 to your zombie saves, so they can like become a 6-up save, which I know isn't the greatest, but it's still pretty good. Like
weight of numbers, those kind of things on a unit that big makes a massive difference because you're just rolling so many dice.
Yeah, and yeah, they're kind of huge numbers, and you also, I think, yes, turn 1 with Legion of Night, you can actually add 1 to the save rolls of zombies as well. So in theory, they're getting +2 save, even though it's capped at +1. But yeah, you're kind of having 5+ save zombies on turn 1, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I found that odd with this whole cap. They're all capped, but actually the save one is the one that, like, yes, it's capped, but actually because there's so many minuses on rend, it's still worth having lots of it.
Yes, yeah. And I was finding that a lot of the time, especially kind of turn 1 for Idoneth, you treat as in you're in cover. The turtle gives you +1 save as well, so I was kind of flying around a lot of the time with like +2 save on turn 1, which is quite nice. And then you put all up defense on, and you're even higher.
Yeah, that's a lot of rend you need to be able to put into it.
Yes. So he put the 20 Graveguard in the graves, so they could come up from any of the gravestones. And he was quite aggressive with his gravestones. He put like 3 in my territory, and and then one kind of on his home objective. Which actually,
Do they not need to be in?
yeah, I was just looking at that because I'm pretty sure that.
I thought that all things now had to be in your own territory. I thought literally all the scenery was in your own territory.
Well, this isn't scenery. The graveyards are treated as different.
Oh, fair enough.
So you can pick up to 2 points within your territory, and up to 2 points anywhere on the battlefield. Oh, okay. So yeah, you deployed them wrong. Up to 2 points within your territory and up to 2 points anywhere on the battlefield. Yeah, so we deployed 3 anywhere on the battlefield. Oh, okay. Good job, it didn't matter. So yeah, you put kind of 2 out near the 4 objectives. And then he put 1 kind of middle of the table, a little bit kind of nearer my home objective. But not like right near the front. But with Eels, like, because I had turn 1, so all that I did was move 2 units of 3 Eels onto the objective, like millimeters onto it, but covering his grave sites, so he couldn't bring stuff on. And then he had like the 2 corpse carts, a unit of 40 zombies, and the 10 skeletons with the necromancer on his home objective as a kind of like, here it is, this is just going to bog you down. The zombies on the left-hand side, he had buffed up with the Vampire Lord. And with zombies, they can pile in 6 inches, like if they're within 6 of your unit. So even if they move 4, you can auto-run him 6 if you want to, and then pile him 6. So it's like a 16-inch move almost to get into combat. So I just made sure I was 17 inches away on that objective. Then this was probably his first mistake that we chatted about in turn 1. He brought on his Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon on the left-hand side, where those zombies were. So he kind of grabbed control of that objective, but then he brought it on 9 inches away from my 3 Eels, and then made the 10-inch charge. But the problem was it was like the other side, like literally on the edge of the table, and then it was kind of stuck there for a couple of turns getting across the table. So that was one kind of mistake. He said like he probably would have thought about that a bit more next time. But yeah, like that unit of zombies moved up, grabbed the kind of that side objective, and then he ran Radikar the beast up the other side to summon his 10 direwolves. But the way he went to bring on his 20 graveguard from the middle grave that was nearer my home objective. But the way I'd positioned my Eels completely unintentionally, with having to be 9 inches away, stopped him getting anywhere on the objective. Like literally by millimeters.
They're the best ones where you do it and you realise, oh, that was a really good idea, wasn't it?
Okay.
Definitely meant to do that.
So yeah, that was quite nice. He got turn 2 priority, moved like the graveguard onto the objective. The direwolves moved up, but then I spent a command point to redeploy, so I like moved them further backwards, which meant if the direwolves wanted to make that charge, they'd have to make it. It was something like an 8-inch charge or something, instead of a 3-inch charge, because I rolled a 5 to redeploy. Which I quite like redeploy. It can muck up so many different plans for opponents. And I'll talk about that in the 3rd game as well. But he made the 8-inch charge. It was like, oh, okay. But he could only, again, with coherency, a unit of 10 direwolves, he can only get like 5 in at a time. And against 3 Eels, like, they just did nothing. And then, like, the Eels they killed about 3 or 4 of them. And then my turn 2, because I'm running and charging, Volturnus and the Turtle moved across to where the 20 Graveguard were, because I knew how punchy Graveguard were. I brought on the 6 Eels and 10 Thralls and the Soul Scryer, so that was the things I kept off the board on that side of the board, because I was like, right, if I can get rid of all the Direwolves, the Graveguard, get rid of Radikar, and then I can move across. And that's kind of what I did. Like, Leviathan went into the Graveguard, Volturnus went into the Graveguard, the 6 Eels went into the Direwolves just to get across the table a little bit. The Thralls were a bit too far out, but the plan was to kind of move them across just towards his home objective. Leviathan went on and killed 18 of the Graveguard.
Oof.
Which it had all-out defense. No, sorry, I managed to do the I roared so that it couldn't do command points, so it couldn't get all-out defense on. Because that's what I was a little bit worried it was then going to become like a 4-up save Graveguard.
Yeah.
But yeah, then a 5-up save, and then with all the Ren that the Leviathan gone, it just absolutely chewed through those units. Volturnus finished them off. The 6 Eels obviously finished off the 10 Direwolves.
Shock horror.
Yeah. Leaving like that other unit of 3 that the Direwolves charged just to kind of just stay there. I won turn 3 priority. Volturnus just buffed up himself, Leviathan, 6 Eels. The 3 Eels charged Radikar, the beast. He burnt that objective that side, so I was like, well, that's fine. I didn't care about that. I'm going for your home objective. 6 Eels went in, Leviathan went in, Volturnus went in, and all the zombies, like a whole unit of 40 zombies and the 10 skeletons were just dead. The 6 Eels, I think, killed 37 zombies, I think it was. They only managed to get like 4 of them in combat because of coherency.
Just brutal when they do that.
Absolutely. I was like, oh yeah, that's what they do. So yeah, you kind of lost all of that, and the problem was, like, obviously Soulblight can bring back Endless Legions on a 5+, and you bring back units. He just couldn't roll a 5-up to save his life, and that was a kind of issue. And the problem was, because he still had the Zombie Dragon, and it kind of moved across the table, and I thought it was coming for the home objective, because I only had the Tidecaster, Soul Render, and 10 Thralls on my home objective. So I moved them like as far back as I could, so they were like on the opposite side of the like there was a big terrain piece covering half the objective. But I was like, well, at least he's got to kind of get around the terrain piece to do it. But instead, he kind of sent everything, his other 40 zombies and the zombie dragon, back to his home objective.
All right.
Which I can kind of partly understand, because it's like, well, you've got to kind of try and win that back, otherwise it's another 4 points for me. But I kind of said to him, I was like, I'm surprised you didn't just send your zombie dragon into my home objective and go and score it, because you can kill the 10 thralls and then you've got 2 heroes that are worth 2 models each, and then you're a monster, so you're worth 5. He was like, oh yeah, I suppose. But yeah, he ended up basically charging 40 zombies again into Volturnus. He tanked him for 2 turns, I think it was, and suffered like 2 wounds. He just couldn't roll a 6.
I was going to say, it seems like he wasn't doing very well with his dice there. He
just couldn't roll a 6 to save his life. Like, at one point, I think he rolled 33 attacks with like a bunch of the zombies and did like 2 wounds. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well,
the zombie dragon charged into the eels and the Leviathan. This was another thing I said. Like, he did the Titanic duel against the Leviathan,
right,
to get like +1 to hit. But then he targeted the eels, so he didn't get the +1 to hit. He was like, oh, I knew that was the more fighty unit. And I was like, well, yeah, I can kind of understand it, but
don't do the Titanic duel.
Yeah. And then turn 4, I basically just retreated Volturnus. We were kind of running out of time, because as you can imagine,
you were the last ones to finish that round, weren't you?
Like 80 zombies is a lot of dice rolling. And even with eels, like with +1 attack on all of their eel attacks, it's so many dice rolls that you got to do. And you've got to make all the death saves as well.
Yep.
So you're doing 30 odd damage, and then you're rolling 30 odd 30 odd 6-ups to try and save them. But yeah, turn 4, like, I basically retreated onto the far objective because you only had 1 hero there with the Leviathan and Volturnus, and then that meant I was scoring that one again. and then I was just too up on points for him to catch me.
That's the problem, isn't it? When you get somebody who gets ahead like that, it's just like...
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it because we rolled off the priority and like for turn 5 because we're like, well, let's just see what would have happened, and then we kind of actually worked out the points. It's like, because you've burnt one of the ones worth 2, it's basically kind of game over. Like I said to him, like if you'd given me, if you'd taken first turn, if you won priority, I was basically going to burn my home objective because that's where I thought his zombie dragon was going, and then just push everything onto the middle objectives and his home objective, and just go, well...
Yeah, burning your own home objective. If you got mobile army, I mean, I burnt one of the 2s because I had like 70 horrors and Lord of Change on full health on my back objective, so there was no risk. But yeah, I think if you've got mobile army or you've got some rest, then you burn your home objective because that's worth 4 to your opponent.
Exactly.
And you just kind of say, right, I don't care about that now.
And yeah, that's why kind of like turn 3, I thought it might have been a little bit obvious when I've cleared one side and I've got all of my Eels, a Turtle and Volturnus there.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I'm kind of going to go for your home objective now and just go and smash. I mean, the -1 to wound aura bubble was a kind of big thing because it then meant I was like wounding on 4s, which wasn't the best. I had the inspired triumph though, so that unit of 6 Eels, when it went in, it was like, oh yeah, -1 to wound. I was like, right, I'm just spending my inspired triumph, and then I'm +1 to wound again. Like, yeah. I just don't understand why anyone would take any of the other triumphs when you've got a +1 to wound. It's such a rare thing to have, to be able to get.
Yeah, there's not going to be many armies that have got that as default.
Yeah. I've just realised that's another thing you got wrong. So we played Overwhelming Dread as an aura that everyone was -1 to hit.
Yeah.
But it's you pick one enemy unit within 18 of the caster and then -1 to hit.
Ah.
But yeah, so at one point I was like playing it, so all of my army was -1 to hit and -1 to wound.
Huh.
So it was just like, I've just try and get through, but
yeah,
it's major win for me. It was a good game. It was just it made me rethink taking Salt Blight potentially to Lost in the Damned.
But were you going to take that many?
I've got 80 zombies. I bought
etc.?
80 zombies. I don't know whether I would run them all at once. That's the one thing.
Did you ever think that 80 zombies would be fun?
Yeah, well, for me. I don't know, in a world of horrors, then it doesn't seem that bad. But
horrors are not fun.
But yeah, it's one that I'm just like I said, I'm still trying to decide what to take. I think if I take Soul Blight, it will be very just Blood Knight heavy and a couple of zombie dragons and a Vengorian Lord and push it around the table. Maybe Radikar the Beast as well because I love that model. And then just play it as a Kastali Dynasty, I think it is, and do it like that. So yeah, it definitely made me rethink potentially what I want to do, but still, it was a good game. I mean, I've been to quite a few tournaments with Chris, so I've played him 2 or 3 times now. So he's always a good opponent in that. So I finished on 2nd win for the day.
Nice.
And then game 3, we played Apex Predators.
Yeah.
So only heroes can score in this, or leaders, I should say. It's a bit like the first mission. Like on a 3-day tournament, I don't really want to be playing one where only specific units can score. Like on a 5-day tournament, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Like you've got to kind of, we were saying this off air, you have to build your list to potentially use all of the different missions, but I think on a 1-day event, I don't want to be playing one where only a specific unit type can score, and I don't want to be playing one where you auto win on a turn.
No, I think potentially doing one of those 2 might not have been so bad, but to have 2 out of 3 games, being those kind of missions, especially considering we were all there to learn the
new game,
they felt yeah, they weren't the best ones, and
It seemed like every round, especially the first and third round, like games were finishing very quickly because either all the heroes were dead on one of the sides or they've won by turn
yeah,
three.
I mean, we'll cover it in a second, but my game finished probably hour in,
Yeah.
if that.
And these are like 3 hour rounds as well, so it's not
Yeah,
exactly like it's a short game. um,
not at all.
so no, it's one that I think I'll probably chat to Justin about and kind of say, look, like have a look at the different missions and try and play them. So you want games to be lasting rather than people just stood around and twiddling their thumbs a bit.
Yeah, and I think I definitely would have done it this time round because everything was so new. Maybe you don't say what round, but I would have at least publicised what 3 we were playing.
Yes.
Ahead of the event, so just to give everybody a chance to kind of get their head around it, etc.
Definitely. So who were you playing on game 3?
So, whilst you were still playing against Chris and the rest of the world had finished and we were all outside, I was laughing with a common, I was going to say enemy there, common opponent that I'd played multiple times at many events, and I would probably say after this weekend is probably my most common opponent across all events, Mr. Ian Spink, and we were just laughing, and of course, as you do, you laugh about these things and then they come true. So I was playing Ian Spink, and the biggest irony of it all was that so we've played each other, I think of the tournaments that he's been at, where we've both been at, we've played each other the last 4 tournaments now that we've both been at. And each time it's been basically the same scenario.
It has actually, so, up in Scotland you've done this as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done this twice in Scotland, and we've now done it twice at Battle Bunker. Same scenario. Ian running nearly always the same army. I'd been running Deepkin for those first 3, and this is obviously Tzeentch. And as soon as I knew what it was, and as soon as I knew I was playing Ian, I kind of just said, well, that's never going to happen, is it? I made some stupid mistakes, but overall, it was a very uphill battle. So it was the one where you've got the 3 across the middle, diagonally across the middle, 3 points, and only, as you say, only heroes can score. He has 5 heroes in his list, I think.
Yeah.
I've got 4, but one of mine's a monster, which he obviously gets bonuses against, and the others are quite squishy. And I think theoretically I should have been able to deal with his just as well. But a couple of things went his way. And as I say, I made a couple of silly mistakes. And yeah, he was clinical, and I think by the end of turn 2, I had no characters left.
Right, okay.
So yeah, I set up quite centrally. I mean, so without going into all the details, he got the first turn because he had less deployments than me. So he went first, and half his army does a pre-game move, so he was already shimmying along, and he got everybody onto his objectives. I think he just went with the middle and my left one. But he had 4 units of 5 balls. He had 2 or 3 units of 10 normal orcs, whatever they are. He had 2 units of stabbers, the big stabbers, so a unit of 2 and a unit of 4, and then he had a unit of 40 arrow boys.
Yeah.
Not 40 arrow boys, 20 arrow boys. And then, like I say, he had 5 characters. I went up to take the right hand one with my Zangor Shaman, which I still think was the right idea. And then I went to charge my Enlightened into his big stabbers because I thought I'd get rid of them early. He then did the stand and shoot because I got within 9 inches of his block of 20.
Right.
And that block of 20, standing and shooting, killed 4 enlightened.
Ugh.
So that's 12 wounds, and I'd put the extra save on them. So that's 16 wounds at 4 up.
Right.
And he just obliterated them with 20 archers. Now, he was getting more wounds on 6s. I think he had 40 shots. Even then, you do the maths, it still shouldn't. I'd have been getting 30 shots with my pinks and doing like next to nothing. I know they don't get the mortal wounds, but so yeah, I kind of I forgot the standard shoot side of it, and there's probably, looking back a couple of times, like in our game, I probably should have used standard shoot more. I did use it in my second game occasionally, but not enough, I suppose. And so I lost my enlightened, and that was, the one thing that I had that could do something. Because it was only characters that scored, he ignored my pinks, which was the right thing to do. He shot off the Lord of Change in the next turn, and his balls came in and killed my other 2 characters.
Yeah.
So, he then the big stabbers killed the shaman. So it was easy enough for him. But yeah, it's kind of my army. As I say, I didn't read through the battle plans, and that's my fault. But my army definitely doesn't like that scenario.
Yeah.
Against, I think without the shooting, it would have been better. Because, just fill it with pinks, but the pinks couldn't cover everything.
I think that's the issue with a lot of, like, with a mission like this and a lot of armies at the minute. We are in a shooting meta.
Yeah.
And it kind of just leads to, right, I'll just target the heroes and job's good. I'll go in there, score for a couple of turns, and then we'll just call it there. Which is a shame.
Yeah, and theoretically I could have killed his heroes, but he kept them well covered, and because I didn't get turn 2, he got turn 2.
Yeah.
Priority, it meant that he was able to do the damage before I got chance to.
Yeah. You see, like, I was looking through it, battle plan power and numbers. That's got a rule whereabouts. It's called the backbone of success. If there's any battle line units within 6 of an objective, then only models from battle line units can contest that objective. Like, I would prefer it if that was the rule here, that anyone can score it, but if you've got a hero there, they circumvent everything.
Yes.
And then it becomes a bit more kind of like back and forth, and I can still kind of score here and there, but if they get a hero on there, then suddenly I've lost it straight away.
Yeah.
Rather than just leaders.
Yes, because, you looked at table 1, and it was Gargants versus
Daughters. Yeah.
Now, that's just a mismatch in that the Gargants just went and sat on all the objectives and said, well, I'm scoring them.
Yeah.
It's
like, let's see how long it would take Marathi to go and kill 3 of them, but even then she's only scoring like
So it's there are some, but I mean we are in the age of, I hate to say it, but Hero Hammer and Monster Hammer, and I think that's what they're going for. So maybe as the meta shifts and we start to see that more, and everybody's got more heroes, more hard to kill heroes.
Yes.
On monsters, maybe things like that become a little easier to play.
Yeah, the amount of times as I kind of alluded to earlier, the amount of times I had Volturnus on a 2-up, 1-up save, it's kind of, it was ridiculous almost. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm just sat here and just do what you want. It's not really that big a deal. But I know what you mean. It is a bit like, and I was the same. Like when they said, "Oh, it's Apex Predators," I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" It's like, I'm not a big fan of this. Like, make it that leaders circumvent everyone else, but don't make it that only they can score.
Yeah, because it just kind of stops you from playing the game. And fair play to Ian, he did the right thing. But he just ignored everything I had and just went for the heroes.
Yeah.
And yeah, they say it's not really a fun game, is it? But
No. But it is what it is. It's fingers crossed that future events won't have it. We shall see. If we've done
especially
it now,
anywhere Ian's going and I'm going, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping because we've played these ones now, then in future Battle Bunker events, it means that we're not playing these and we've got another 9 to choose from. So
I doubt it, but yes, no, hopefully that would be nice.
We'll see. Well, in my game 3, it was basically a repeat, a bit like you, of same opponent, same mission, same game 3, and this was against Sam, who I played in round 1. Battle Bunker when I had my Gargants, and it was Gargants against Beastclaw, and this time it was Beastclaw against Idoneth in exactly the same heroes can only score.
Oh, there you go.
And
he was glad you weren't running Gargants this time.
He did joke that because we looked at table 1. He's like, "I'm so glad I'm not playing that again."
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a tough one. I mean, he outdropped me, so he was going first. He did the right thing. He basically put 2 Frost Lords on the middle and the far objective.
Yep.
Left the other one alone. He kind of kept his Huskard. He had a Huskard and 2 Frost Lords as his heroes. So I had more heroes, but mine are a lot more squishy than his. When I've got 3 heroes that have like 5 wounds each, it's 5-6 wounds each. It's not ideal. So like I said, he kind of pushed on. He basically surrounded his Frost Lord in the middle with all of his Mournfang, which again, with 2 units of 2 Mournfang, which again, right thing to do, screen him out so I can't get into him. He took a Stonehorn Beast Rider, just a normal battle line, and 2 Mournfang with his other Frost Lord to the far objective. So I kind of knew that it's like I need to get rid of them sooner rather than later because they are just going to sit there and score points. Like there's nothing that I can do to stop that. I kind of took a what do you call it? A phalanx. It's not even a phalanx. It was basically 10 thralls and a soul render off down to the unoccupied objective because I was like, right, they can go and grab that. I mean, it took me a good 3 turns to get over there. Even with like rolling a 6 every time to run, it was just like just slog across the board. I sent 3 eels there as well because I was like, well, if needs be, I can push them up and try and get into combat like when the rest of the army goes that way. But it also kind of 3 eels you can still kind of screen quite well in a line. So they kind of blocked off between 2 bits of scenery where that objective was, so the guys could kind of get in and score. Then I just went, you know what, I'm just going to have to throw everything turn 1 and brought on the Soul Scry of Volturnus and 6 eels on the top objective where that Frost Lord was and just charged it all in, made the charge and ended up killing the Frost Lord.
Oh, nice.
Which was good. He was left on, it was something like 2 wounds and then Volturnus. Yeah, that was the thing. I tried to do Volturnus first. I tried being clever. So I did all the electric blast bolts, the Volturic blasts or whatever they are, into the Frost Lord with a unit of 3 and a unit of 6. Because I was like, right, I might be able to knock him down quite a bit. And then I went...
Yeah, you've got to do it early, haven't you?
Yeah, and I was like, right, if I go with Volturnus first, he might just suddenly massively spike.
No.
And then the 6th...
That's what you haven't played Volturnus enough.
Yeah. And then I was like, and then potentially that the eels can then go and do it. So, yeah, he kind of like went in and left like the Frost Lord on 2 wounds. I was like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, kind of knew what was going to happen. Played all out defense. So, obviously, turn 1, you're in cover, but you charged, so he didn't get that. But yeah, he still a 2-up save, thankfully. And he did about 3 wounds to Volturnus, I think it was altogether.
Wow.
Which was yeah, quite lucky. The Leviathan was in range as well, so he was a 2+ save, 1+ save, I think it was. What is it? Yeah, 1+ save for Volturnus.
Yeah,
So yeah, he did about 2 wounds. So then the Eels kind of he killed the Frost Lord, and then the unit of 3 finished off the Frost Lord, I should say, and then the unit of 6 left the Stonehorn on about 3 wounds left. So that was a kind of win for me almost.
you didn't take too much back then.
No, no. So it was I lost like 2 of the 6 eels, I think it was, from the Stonehorn. 'Cause the way I piled in, it stopped the Stonehorn getting into range of Volturnus.
Yeah, and did he not play the um, command ability to fight on his top profile?
No, because he was out of command. Because he went first, he had 2 command
Ah, he
points,
didn't have enough command points.
and I'm trying to think what he used him for.
It's a shame. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I think he
Because I was going to
chose.
say, can you play that if you haven't taken anything?
Yes, you can, but the problem is this was the issue. You either have to play all out defense or that. You can't play both because it's both
Yeah,
in
all our
the
defense to try and keep you alive, but then
yeah.
once you've done that, you're on. Yeah,
You don't. So as far as I can remember, I can't remember to be honest, but I'm pretty sure he played all out defense or something like that
right.
instead,
Yeah,
which probably might have been the best way to do it, just to give him a better save. But like I said, with the mortal wounds and whatnot, it kind of didn't help him, and then the extra rend as well. So yeah, that was kind of dead. And then Volturnus was kind of on the objective scoring. The one thing I do like about this is that you can move off the objective and have another hero score, like sit on it, and you don't lose any like bonuses to scoring.
yeah.
It's not like you kind of get more for sitting on it. That was one of the ones I used to hate. Whereabouts it's like you have to sit there and just rack
The
up
longer you
points.
sit there, the
Yeah,
more points you get. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, then the Soul Scryer kind of ran onto the objective next turn to get onto the objective and score. So it meant Volturnus could move off. Um, I then kind of I didn't know what to do because I had all the eels. I had Volturnus, I had the Leviathan, and then I had his Frostlord and Huskard like right next to each other in the middle. And I was like, I could charge in and just like absolutely just see whether I can get rid of them, or I charge in and I lose everything because both of those had Metal Cruncher as well.
yeah,
Um, and I could lose everything, and then I'm struggling massively because there's still 2 massive hero monsters. So I decided to charge the Leviathan in, and that was it. Because I was like, right, he's pretty tanky. He's got like 2 up save normally when he's injured. I could do all out defense because Volturnus is in range, so he's a 1 up save. Can be pretty tanky, right? You can fight 2
yeah,
Frost Lords. Went in,
yeah.
smashed the Frost Lord. Did like left him on 5 wounds, I think it was in combat. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Then he started like doing a couple of attacks, and he did it with the Huskard first, and then he did like 2 wounds. I was like, oh, this is exactly what he wanted. Like, this is great. And then I remembered he didn't do any of his metal crunchers.
That was about the time I walked past and looked at your
Yeah,
table to see what was going on.
and I went,
Yeah,
oh, you haven't done any metal crunchers on your heroes. He's like, oh yeah, cheers for reminding me. Double 6. Did 12 mortal wounds. I was like, why did I say that?
yeah,
And like we both just started laughing. So like suddenly my 16 wound Leviathan went from 2 wounds taken to 14 wounds taken, and then the Frost Lord just took it off the table, and I was like, oh, for God's sake!
yeah.
I was like, if you'd remembered, you probably would have rolled like a 4 on 2d6.
Always the way, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And then he would have stayed there and stuck. So yeah, my turn too. I'd lost a Leviathan just because I was being nice and reminded him.
Yep.
And then he decided to go, right, actually, I'm just going to go and try and smash Volturnus off. So he moved off his objective, because at that point I only had the Soul Scryer on mine, on that one objective. The Soul Render was still running across the board trying to get onto it. he charged with both the guys. He got rid of the 4 eels. He got rid of the Volturnus in combat. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
See where this is going.
Turn 3, and then he won priority again. And it became that thing of, do you give me priority so I can then hit you and countercharge you with like the other 9 eels I've got left?
Yeah.
Or do you take priority but I get to burn an objective? So he took priority, and this was what I said to him. I said this was probably the mistake you made, was that I burnt the objective that my soul scryer was on, because that's whereabouts he was heading. Because I was like, it's pointless giving him that objective, because then he's got 2 that he can just score, whereas I'm screening out down at the bottom and I'm about to get my soul render on there. So I had my, so like I said, the soul scryer was scoring, and then the tide cast was just coming onto the objective as well. So he decided that he was going to move straight away across to those, to where I had 3 eels and those 2 heroes. Even though I'd burnt the objective, so turn 3 wasn't going to be scoring as well. And I was like, okay, this is probably good for me here. He moved within 9, and I redeployed my eels and rolled a 5 and moved out of range from him. Well, I moved, I think it was like 9 inches, I think we worked out, or 10 inches or something. And I was like, oh, okay, this is good. So then he charged and killed 2 heroes, which I was like, it's fine. And I said to him, like, later, like, I can understand why you did that, to get rid of the heroes, but my 2 little foot heroes aren't going to get across to the other side of the board and score, like, before turn 5. Like, they were out of the game, but the reason I burnt that objective was so you couldn't get to it. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Then my turn 3, like, second turn of about round 3, charged in with the eels, and just, like, he had the Frostlord on 5 wounds, completely fluffed, couldn't kill a Frostlord. I was like, oh, for God's sake. I don't know if he went in and did like 1 damage, I think it was. And I was like, I just don't understand AoS sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed to then get the soul render onto that far objective, which meant I got a point for holding it and a point for having more objectives. And then it came down to, can he get to that soul render? Bearing in mind he was in the opposite corner of the table. Turn 4, he moved across, couldn't get into range of the middle objective because of the scenery that was around it. So it meant he wasn't scoring again. And then turn 5, we basically, what was it? He got the priority on turn 4, moved down towards where that was with his Huskard, and then he brought all of his Mornfang down as well, because he was like, right, I'm just going to try and get rid of everything. Because then even if it stops you scoring, it stops you scoring. My turn 4, I basically just created a little bubble as best as I could with the 3 eels, the thralls, and then just put the soul render as far back as possible, but still holding the objective. And then his Frostlord he won priority turn 5. Frostlord went back onto his middle objective, and then he charged in with the Huskard and the Mornfang, and the way it was all positioned, he just couldn't get to the soul render. So we kind of called it there, and then we started totaling up the points. So I was like, look, that's fine. Like, he killed a couple of eels on the charge, but he still had 1 eel that was blocking the way. He killed a few of the thralls, and I was like, look, we'll call it there. I'll say that you've killed both of them in combat.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. It meant I lost my grand strategy. And his grand strategy is the one where you have to have a monster left on the table or whatever it is.
Alright, yeah.
And this is the thing that I forgot in the other 2 games, was that if you get your grand strategy, you score 3 victory points.
Yes.
Yeah, completely forgot about that in the other, like in our game and in the game against Chris. I mean, it didn't matter because they were kind of foregone conclusions, but yeah.
It only really matters if you do and your opponent doesn't, I suppose.
Yes. So we were totting up the points, and I won by 1 point. And then we handed in the sheet, and then like we got back to the table, and we're like, oh god, that was so close. And then Sam was like, we need to like. It's like he was trying to work out whether he could have like killed the Soul Render in that turn.
Yeah.
Or even in turn 5 killed the Soul Render, because it was, in theory, it would have got pulled into combat because it would have been within 3, and then whether he could have like got the Mournfang in and killed it. But the problem was, because we'd already started moving models, we just didn't know where stuff was going to be piling into and which order in his turn 5 he would have attacked. So if like the Stonehorn would have gone and killed something first, and then the Mournfang piled in, or if the Mournfang tried to kill some, and then like the Thralls could potentially pile back in and start, like, we just couldn't work it out because we'd already called it and started moving everything. So yeah, we probably said we probably should have played it out. But the way it was positioned, like I said, it was just like we were like, actually, like, it looked like nothing could happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I kind of said to him, I was like, look, kind of the Soul Render was on a 1+ save. He had Mystic Shield. He was treated as in cover, and I could have spent all out defense. So I was like, I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to work it out when there's so many variables.
Yeah, I kind of said to him, I was like, I don't think 2 Mournfang, when they've only really got like 1 rend on the tusks, can kill a 6 wound 1+ save hero. Like, in theory.
Yeah.
I mean, it still becomes I think he's becomes a 3+, I think he is, because he's normally 4+, I think it is. Soul Render. Yeah, he's a 4+, so he would have been a 3+ save. And it just, yeah, we were like, we were kind of booming and ahhing, and I was just like, well, yeah, because we didn't roll it out, we didn't know whether any of the Thralls actually survived. Because if they do, they're like 2 damage each, 2 attacks each. They could be like 2s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage each, and they could quite easily get rid of a couple of Mournfang. Like 6 wounds each, you only have to do a handful of damage, and suddenly they're gone.
It's like you say, it's too difficult to
Yeah.
try and make it all work, isn't it?
But it was an amazing game to finish. It was one of those, like, so close. Lots of whiffed attacks here and there. But yeah, no, it was a really good game. We just kind of joked, we were like, mate, next time that we play, can we just make sure it's not a hero scoring mission on game 3? When we've both got kind of hard hitting armies.
Yeah.
So no, it was a good. Sam's a good player, so it was a good way to finish the day. So I ended up 3-0, which was nice.
Well done.
And I ended up in 2nd place. So we had, I'm trying to think now. In 3rd place was Ian. So
Yes.
Who beat you in the last round. Which was good. I mean, Ian's kind of been shielding since the start of COVID, so it's been nice seeing him back and etc. And he said that's the first game he's had since we went to Scotland in, was it March we went?
Yeah.
No, March, February time I think it was.
February.
So yeah, he's been away for a long time, but no, it's, as he said, he's using an army that he knows inside out, so that's kind of half the thing. If you know the army, then it's just as easy to play learn the new game.
Absolutely. You've got a lot less to learn.
Yes,
that way.
Definitely. So yeah, Ian was in 3rd, myself was in 2nd, and Darren Longworth was in 1st with Sons of Behemat. It was a bit of a weird scoring thing. There was no real set scoring, so it was all just done on victory points. So I think Darren ended on like 75 because he scored 40 odd in the Savage Gains.
Yeah, and I also think his last game, the Apex Predators, that game finished almost as quick as ours.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a little bit.
Whereas your game was really close
Yeah,
with Sam, so it was kind of that's he'd already clearly got more than you going into that last one because he was on table 1 and then he just destroyed his opponent game 3 and kind of like it's an uphill struggle then, isn't it?
yeah. Like I said, it was kind of because they were just doing it on the victory points that were scored. It kind of, like I say,
And we didn't get any in game 1 because of
yeah, no
the
one
way.
got anything on game 1, so you were only really scoring on 2 points, which then becomes a bit. Sorry, you're only scoring on 2 games, which becomes a little bit weird.
Yeah, especially if you forgot to record your grand strategies as well as victory points. Probably didn't help you.
To be fair, even if I listed my grand strategy, it didn't really make much difference. So let's have a look. So in game 2, he scored 49 points in Savage Games. And I scored 24.
Yeah.
And
49. How the.
well, you basically.
Well, yeah. So this was another one that I found odd, and it's one of those ones where when I thought about it, I was like, how do we normally do? Because I'm used to the 20-0 system, it never
Yes.
comes up.
Yeah.
But what Justin had said was, if you table your opponent, then you continue scoring points throughout.
Yeah. And that's what
So
I mean.
theoretically, you're meant to play it. You're meant to play through the remaining turns so you can score the points. So, I'm assuming there's, what, 9 points available per turn on the Savage one?
Up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 points a turn.
Yeah. And if he scored, and then you get 2 for your
battle strategies and
battle strategy.
Yeah.
So it's 11 points. To score 49, that means he missed 2 points. Maybe he missed 5 points, let's say, because he would have got his 3 for his grand strategy.
So yeah, 49 minus 13 is 36 points divided by 9. Basically, he scored 9 points 4 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he killed a monster, but I think basically he must have tabled his opponent in within the first 2 turns.
Yes.
On that one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a weird thing. Like you got 5 points for a win, but then it went on what you scored in victory points, which just doesn't really make sense.
No.
I think, like you said, I tried to work one out over the weekend of trying to do a 20-0 system. The problem is it's like battle tactic. It's not like auxiliaries where you literally had 2 each, and it was like, yeah, if you stop your opponent scoring them, you get 2 points each, and then if you get one, it gets your 2, you get 2 points. And then it's like if you get 1,000 points, etc. And like basically you had 6 extra points as well as the 14 points for a win. In this one, because you're getting battle tactics every turn, it just doesn't work. And a grand strategy. Because in theory you've got potentially 12 points. If you do 5 for you and 5 to stop your opponent, is 10. And then the grand strategy is 1 each. 1 for getting and 1 for stopping. You've got 12 points just there. And then it's like, well, that doesn't work because if you get a major win, you get 8 points. Like if you did it in a 20-0. But the thing is, a lot of the battles, I don't think you can score the battle strategies like that because a lot of the battle strategies you can't stop your opponent doing. There's the one where about
I would just say
do a run.
You score if you score your battle strategies. It doesn't matter whether you stop your opponent or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say maybe you go 14.
Well, no, because that doesn't work. Because if you do 14 and then you score 5 points for your battle strategies, that goes up to 19, say. But then your opponent scores 5.
Then you just do 12 and give yourself
70.
Yeah, just do 12 and then it's 1 per battle tactic and 3 for your grand strategy.
12 plus 5 is 17. Yeah, but
Plus,
that doesn't work. So if your opponent scores 5 battle tactics, they get 5 points. So then you've got 17-5. That's not a 20-0 system. That's what I mean. You need to score out of 20 that can kind
oh
of move.
yeah.
It just doesn't work like that. But like I said, there's certain battle strategies in there that you can't control. Like,
Well, then you just do how many you scored versus how many your opponent scored.
you do more and then you get a point. Yeah, that could be one.
You just take theirs and yours, and that's what you get. And then battle strategy again. If you score the battle strategy and they don't, you get 3. If you both score it, then you don't. Battle strategy, I think, is a bit easier because you kind of, you can look at those and go, right, that's it. But you're right with the battle tactics.
Battle tactics, you can't stop a lot of them. Like,
It's like 3 of them. Although the run one I got completely wrong because I didn't realize they had to finish within 3.
yeah,
I just read you've got to run 3 units. I was like, those 3 are going to run. That was pretty easy.
I did it against Chris at Soulblight. I had a Soul Render, a TIE Caster, and a 10 Thrall as my home objective, and they're all running. I moved them all like
Yeah.
a millimetre, and then they were all within 3, and it's like, okay, I'll score that. It's like, great. Like, some of them just seem a bit like, oh, okay. And there's the one where you get, you score if you hold 2 objectives not wholly within your territory.
Yeah, and there aren't any
There's
that
so many objectives. There's a
on the
couple of missions where the
yeah
territories cover the objectives, but most of them, like, they're on the edge.
yeah.
So it's like, well, that's an easy one. We both did that on turn 1, game 1.
Yeah.
So we're like,
I
well,
was
there you
just
go.
like they're right in front of you. You're going to cover it
Yeah,
anyway, so you might as well.
that's why I
Yeah,
think, yeah, giving points in a 20-0 system, for example, for scoring them and preventing them, I just don't think it works because there's too many that you can't prevent. So I don't know. I was trying to work ones out, but it yeah, it is a bit of a weird one because, like you said, you had grand strategies and you had
yeah. I suppose then you just flip it on its head and you just say, look, you get X number of points for you get nothing for a loss. I don't know, 2 for a draw, 4 for a minor, 6 for a major.
mm,
You get 1 point if you get more grand strategies, battle tactics than your opponent, and you get 1 point if you got your battle strategy.
yeah,
Leave it like that.
something a bit more
Or
simple.
yeah, there's ways and means. You don't. Yeah, it's a difficult one, but I'm not sure because not all of them have victory points. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what they've done for Lost and Damned actually.
I think Scott has just done a very basic. If you win, you get 20 points. I think that's what he's done. I think he said he didn't really want to kind of complicate it too much with it being the first proper like 2-day or.
Makes sense because at the end of the day, I think the other difference is the battle tactics win you victory points, which count in the game,
Yeah,
whereas the agendas
never did.
didn't have the same impact.
Yeah,
So I think you don't have to necessarily cover those separately. You can just say, win, loss, well, because you've got minors, win, like lose, draw, minor, win.
hmm So yeah, I've just loaded up Lost in the Dam pack. It's 20 for a major win, 15 for a minor, 10 for a draw, 5 for a minor loss. Now you said player sorting is done
Yes.
on tournament points, then victory points scored, cumulative from each battle plan. So again, that's kind of the same as Justin was doing. Which is
Say that again, sorry?
So it goes the player sorting. It's tournament points,
Yeah.
then victory points scored. So just like Justin did. So,
Yeah.
so if you've got someone scoring,
How's he going to do victory points scored for the ones where it's the turn 3?
well, I have a feeling he probably won't pick those ones.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can understand why. At some point, there'll be a kind of go-to scoring system.
The community will work something out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it always does.
I spent probably about an hour on the Sunday with a pad of paper trying to work it out. And that's I just don't know how this. I just don't know how it works, for example. But I'm sure it will do. And like I said, it is what it is. It's kind of one of those. But I had a really good time. It was good fun. It was nice playing AoS free and playing free fun games. There's lots to remember now. It kind of felt like you couldn't just disappear to like the toilet partway through the game like you normally did, or
yeah, it's a funny one because me and Ian were talking about this afterwards, and I was saying that I think for the casual game, for a one-off game, it's much better.
Yeah,
because you spend your 2 hours or your 2.5 hours and you're engaged all the way through. I think for a 2-day tournament, for a number of people, it might be a bit too much. I think with the top players, yes, they're engaged all the way through because they're. But for the majority of us, there's always a gap where you can go to the toilet, go get a drink from the bar.
Some people are a bit hungover. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you can get away with it so much in this one because there is so much where you've got to.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't just go, oh, you're starting your hero phase, right? Just let me know how many spells you've done, or you're in your movement phase. Fine, I'll come back in a minute, and because you can do your runaways. There's so much to do, and I think the more you play the game, the more those things will become natural. It wasn't natural to look at something and think, oh, should I stay there? Should I run away? Should I shoot it?
It took a little bit of. I think I used redeploy twice. Both of those times it was because they got so close. I was like, right, okay, I need to move away so they've got a longer charge. But
yeah, and it's also trying to that resource management.
Yeah,
there's so much you can do with those command points, and there are so few command points.
Yes, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see whether books coming forward are going to be more command point heavy.
Focusing on you get these and you do that.
Yeah, do this and you'll get a command point. And all of a sudden we start to see that becoming more. And that straight off the bat will give those new armies
big boost,
extra leverage.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Cities of Sigmar Hammerhole get a bit of a boost because you roll for every unit that's got a standard bearer, and a 4+ you get a command point.
Yep.
So that'll be an interesting one to see if they get a little bit of a boost this edition, because they were kind of one of the lesser picked.
Yes, there's so much you can do with them.
Yeah,
they do become a massive thing. And like I say, the number of times I kicked myself at the end of a turn because I still had some left.
Yeah.
I was keeping it for this, keeping it for that, and it's like, well, actually,
yeah, didn't need it. I'm pretty sure you get Demigriff Knights and Hammerhole as well as Battle Line.
That's the army I would do now if I was to do cities. Would be just Demigriffs.
Demigriffs and a load of a couple of heroes on Griffins. Could be quite fun.
Yeah. I don't have time to do that for. I forgot. See, the problem is I'm away the week beforehand, so I can't even paint the week beforehand. I would only give you 2 weeks to do it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's. I'm not looking at that. I won't look at that. I don't need distractions.
Don't do it.
I'll just do my inversion just with a load of undead knights instead. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed the day. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it was good. I haven't played much AoS recently, and it was good to get 3 games in. I say Tzeentch was the wrong thing to pick completely. It's just a ball ache, let's be honest. Like they need to do something with the horrors war scroll. I love the idea, I love the concept, but it just is impractical.
Horrors, yeah, especially they need a massive FAQ already because there's so many people arguing X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Like rules are written at the minute, you can do 200 damage but kill 10 pinks and that's it, which doesn't seem right. Whether that gets FAQ'd, that damage can carry over, yes. The whole thing of does Rally and Emerald Life Swarm bring back pinks and blues if they've split and they're above starting. Like I said, it almost feels like you're going to see a whole entire new war scroll for horrors. But
yes,
Like, I just don't know what else they can do. Like, this unit cannot get the rally ability, and I honestly don't know. Like,
No.
we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I have a feeling we'll see a lot of them at Lost in the Damned. And
I hope not. To be honest, as I say, they're not enjoyable for either. I didn't find it enjoyable, and pretty sure my opponents didn't find it enjoyable. It's clunky, it's messy, it's not great. I enjoyed Tzeentch when I played it a lot in AoS 2.
yes,
I didn't enjoy it this time around.
yeah,
So I'll probably bench that army again. The coherency with the Enlightened was annoying. I think I'll go back to Eels, maybe change it up a little bit, put some Reavers in if I get a chance to get them painted. Quite fancy doing my Squigs at some point, getting them finished and finish off my City's army, but I need to simplify my paint scheme for that.
Maybe
otherwise I'll never.
Slapping a underpointed, overpowered little orange dwarf.
Yeah, we were talking about before we started this, weren't we? I ran Gotrek in Idoneth. What's it called? Iron Arc.
Oh, yeah, you can benefit from the Tides of War.
Yeah, I did that up in Scotland 2 years ago. So I may well bring him back out.
Yeah, he's had a significant points change, and with all the heroic abilities and stuff, you can.
It's funny, you just keep him alive even longer. Like, he was hard to kill at the best of times, but now he just.
Now he can heal D3 and using a heroic recovery. He's got bravery 10 as well, so as long as you don't roll your double 6, Martin.
I was going to say 3 times in a row I rolled double 6 for my Lord of Change to heal him. But yeah, I mean, Gotrek, it just seems logical to put him in now just for a bit of fun.
All out attack or
the
all
other
out
one
defense.
I've got my Seraphon somewhere. Load of big monsters. I could always try and dig them out, but I think.
Yeah, that's a potential option for Lost in the Damned, I think. Croak and Gotrek. Nice, fun family vacation to Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to have a word with myself and see whether I want to do that.
Is your Croak even painted yet?
I've not bought him yet.
Oh well, there you go. So he's not painted.
So I've got my old Seraphon army, but I've got my new Seraphon army still in boxes, so I'd have to build and paint it. But like I said, it will be very much a lot of contrast and some highlights. So
you'll have a good challenge.
It should be done. Like, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 100 skinks. Yeah. It might get done. I need to work it out. I'm still and ahhing. It's plenty of time. Yeah. I've got like 3 weeks, so I don't think about it until like next week when lists are due in. So, and then I'll start panicking.
Absolutely, I need to put a list together. Yeah. I need to do that before I go on holiday, so I don't forget.
Well, lists are due in on the 24th, so you've got a week and a bit.
Plenty of time.
I'm going to play around with some lists and then probably just, I don't know, do a little spinny wheel and choose which one.
Exactly.
Currently building Soulblight at the minute, but looking at the Blood Knights, I don't fancy trying to paint up 4 of these dragon banners before the event. They're beautiful models, but they're going to take a bit of time to paint up. So we shall see. I'm sure next episode we'll probably be talking about. I'm trying to think. What are we doing? It'll probably be post-event, actually.
I would have thought so, yeah, because like I said, I'm away the week beforehand, so...
We're not recording next week. So yeah, we will be back first week in August, so we will be covering the event, so you can find out what we take then. So Martin, if they want to catch you before we get out of here, how can they find you on Twitter and Instagram?
I am at martinswaffield on both Twitter and Instagram.
And I am at Tales of Wargames. And don't forget, we have the Tales of Wargames YouTube channel as well, where we've got painting videos and all the different podcasts up there. So go check that out. But until next time, take care, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.